Armenia, Azerbaijan, U.S. diplomacy attempts to end war over Nagorno-Karabakh amid nearly 5,000 casualties. The United States made the first high-level diplomatic effort to end fighting between Armenia and Azerbaijan at a meeting in Washington Friday. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will hold separate meetings with foreign ministers of Azerbaijan and Armenia to end the nearly 4-week war over Nagorno-Karabakh. The move comes amid an estimated casualty toll announced by Russian President Vladimir Putin, who he calls nearly 5,000. The ceasefire attempts have so far failed. Azerbaijan claims to continue to carry out attacks to regain control of territory controlled by ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijan says it controls the region to the south bordering Iran. Armenia and Azerbaijan accuse each other of attacking residential areas amidst the conflict. Azerbaijan said last week Armenian missiles killed 13 civilians in Ganja, a town just off the front lines. Meanwhile, Armenia accuses Azerbaijan of bombing residential areas in the Nagorno-Karabakh capital, Stepanakert. The number Putin has cited in relation to casualties in nearly 4 weeks is far higher than the death toll both sides have reported. Putin said he spoke to both sides several times a day and would not take sides in the conflict. The Russian president also asked the United States to help work for peace in the region. Armenia accuses Azerbaijan of violating a humanitarian truce in Nagorno-Karabakh, and vice versa. Fighting raged last month in the region, which is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but is controlled by ethnic Armenians. It is the worst conflict since the 6-year war in the region ended in a ceasefire in 1994. What did Putin say? Russia is in a military alliance with Armenia and has military bases in the country. However, Russia also has close relations with Azerbaijan. There are a lot of casualties from both sides, more than 2,000 from each side, Putin said at the meeting broadcast on television, adding that the number was close to 5,000. This is much higher than previous estimates, with the official death toll still under 1,000. Nagorno-Karabakh authorities say 874 of its military personnel and 37 civilians have lost their lives since September 27. Azerbaijan says 61 Azeri civilians were killed, but has not yet announced a military toll. Putin added that he was in constant communication with the Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, and President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, and said he would not take sides. "I talked to them on the phone several times a day," he said. Putin said he disagreed with Turkey over the conflict. He added that Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan may appear tough, but is a flexible politician and a reliable partner for Russia. Turkey has promised to send troops and provide military support to Azerbaijan if requested. Nagorno-Karabakh: why are the Armenian and Azerbaijani people ready to fight with body and soul to defend the disputed territory? Decades-long Nagorno-Karabakh conflict in the Caucasus has heated up again. Armenia and Azerbaijan have been involved in the biggest clashes since the 1990s, despite attempts at mediation from the Russian side. Azerbaijan says that reclaiming the disputed territory is an unfinished business. It is recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, the Armenians say that historically Nagorno-Karabakh was part of Armenia for centuries. BBC correspondents Orla Garin and Steve Rosenberg find bitterness and patriotic fervor among civilians on both sides. The main street of Ganja, Azerbaijan's second-largest city, is shining in the morning sun, and you can see broken glass on the floor. Directly behind him, a cluster of apartment blocks had crumbled and opened like tin cans. Ganja is located 100 kilometers from the Nagorno-Karabakh front line, but on Sunday, the first day of a shaky ceasefire, it was still a short distance away. Azerbaijan accuses Armenia of firing ballistic missiles at parts of the Ganja settlement. Armenia accuses Baku of shooting civilians. We find Nushab Hydarova, 60, who is wearing a headgear and sandals and a cardigan over her nightgown. His arms grew long in shock. "This is how I run, only in what I wear," he said. "We just barely got away. Terrible." We searched our way through the rubble of his damaged home and entered the bedroom where his grandson slept. Their wounds were light. But now a new generation, on both sides, is also hurt by this decades-old conflict. Sometimes it feels like a mirror image. The Armenian people must go in peace, he said. We don't want war. We just want to liberate our own homeland. Residents here view Nagorno-Karabakh as a missing piece of their territory. They are points of belief and a well-trained national narrative that has the support of the international community. At 22 years old, Ityur Rasulov had never before set foot in the disputed mountainous region. But the clean-shaven young man, with the boy band look, said he was ready to die to get him back. When we met in the capital of Azerbaijan, Baku, he had just registered to fight. I am ready to fight for my nation and my homeland with my soul and blood, he said solemnly. My father, my mother and my grandfather live in the area. My brother is struggling right now. Ityur lived in a shabby housing complex filled with families who fled Nagorno-Karabakh and its surroundings during the war in the early 1990s. He grew up in the people's memory of lost lands, atrocities and historic hostilities with Armenia. It stuck to the bone. That goes for a lot of people here. Karabakh is Azerbaijan, he said. The Armenians came there, and they did a lot of bad things to our nation. Of course, I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it. He also said he agreed with whatever the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, said. In this tightly controlled country, where the presidency is passed from father to son, that statement is heard frequently. One of Ityur's neighbors rushed to show me his veterinary identity card. Asef Hakverdiyev, bald and eager, fought the war for Nagorno-Karabakh last time. I am 51 years old now, he said, and I am ready to die for my country. I have sent my own son to fight, and he is fighting on the border. Even if my family dies, even if everyone dies, we are not willing to give an inch of our land. We got a similar message from a grandmother in the front town of Turdur. Despite the back-and-forth attacks, Abanaz Jafarova refused to leave, even though he went underground. We found him in a temporary shelter with several relatives, including his 6-month-old grandson, Faraz, who was being carried. We've been waiting for this for 28 years, he told me, smiling in the dim light. We are very happy with what happened. My son and daughter are fighting on the front lines. We are staying at the shelter to wait for the day of victory and move to our land. Some here hope a Russian-brokered ceasefire will last. Many don't want it. Their forces have retained several areas along Nagorno-Karabakh. They were groomed for victory on the battlefield and wanted their president to stick to his gun.